Last week we had a great question. It was probably the biggest question you can possibly get. And it was, what is the meaning of life? And we left the conversation with a bit of a proposal that the meaning of life is you. You are the meaning of life, which means that you are bringing meaning to your life. All things that are objects or experiences are really neutral until your presence is there giving meaning to the experience. Other than that, there is not yet any meaning. So it's quite simple when you start to look at it clearly. You are literally the meaning generator to your life. So that simple statement brings me to a continuation of the conversation, which is, if you are, we are the meaning of our life, well then, what does that mean? What does that mean? And a part of it means that you have the ability, you are in the position to really take ownership of that which is occurring within your life and the meaning that it has. So whether that meaning be positive or whether that meaning be negative. And if it is in this realm of positive or negative, we are able to decide whether or not we can rest with it, be with it. And if the question is, no longer can I rest with it or be with it, well then, is it time then to transform, to shift? Not the object which you are observing or which you are then connecting meaning to, but the meaning itself. The meaning must then transform, transcend into something that is increasingly in alignment to that which you see and feel deeply on the inside, which is the practice of meditation. The ability to take clear stock of your life within a blink of an eye as you sit. It becomes a profound action of non-action, doing without really doing anything at all. But that component, which is the doing part, is an incredible amount. It's a very specific kind of action, very, very specific. And it's related to a way of connecting to yourself and the thought process that you have. So that in the thought process, while you're conscious, you are framing your life's work in a very specific way. And that framing is positive or negative. And I know that we're continuously attempting to get to this place where we see everything as not being so positive or negative, but the reality is that we actually see things as either positive or negative. So to frame it within a positive rather than a negative, that's the ability to sit in tapas. So tapas is the concept of sitting in discomfort for the sake of some personal growth and development. If you see that, that experience as being a negative, then it's much, much more challenging to sit through it. But what is it that you're sitting through and why? So why is it that your experience is the way that it is? Why are you creating experience in that way? Anyone have an answer?
Because the devil you know is less scary than the devil you don't know.
Oh, good one. I like that. The devil you know is less scary than the devil you don't know. Anybody else? Yes.
Oh, I was just scratching.
Oh. Say habit. Habit, I would agree. What else?
I think that we can't reach transcendence unless we've experienced all experiences and gone through every temptation.
So if you are the meaning of life, you are attaching this meaning to the experiences that you're having. The experience that is occurring is not necessarily in your hands. Would you agree? That you are experiencing that for the sake of a greater cause. So then the experience is set free. The experience is what it is, right? You show up every day with the best of intentions, but wow, all of a sudden it's happening. So that we set free. The experience part we set free. We can't necessarily do anything about it. But the meaning to the experience is what is in our grasps of developing. What is the meaning of that experience as it is occurring? And if in fact, and I definitely agree with you, that we have to have many of these different shapes and forms of experience in order to create the totality of the maturity which is going to bring us to a place of transcending beyond all of that. So if that is the truth, if you agree with it, then what we're doing, what we're experiencing is exactly perfect the way that it is. And I'm not attempting to just create a whitewash of spiritual conversation and jargon to say that everything happens for a perfect reason and that it's awesome the way that it is and you should just accept it. I'm not saying that at all. But somehow it always seems to be perfect the way that it is. There is a moment where you're questioning, and there's a moment when you're in full denial, and there's a moment when you're attempting to run away from that experience. Then there's a moment where you have no choice, feels like something's holding you to it. And then there's another moment when you're actually accepting the fact. And then there's another moment where you begin to say, oh, this is not so bad. And then you begin to learn from it. And then that learning starts to turn into a wisdom. Then wisdom begins to open your eyes in a new way so that you see, wow, this was actually pretty good. Look where I am now. And that happens both on what we perceive as being the positive experience and the negative experience. So now if we can work with the concept of developing meaning, then every single one of those micro steps within the totality of the experience becomes elevated. And that elevation is propelled through the question of why. well, why am I having this experience now? And avoiding the why me, right? Screaming up to the heavens, but instead analyzing it a little bit and saying, okay, well, why is this happening? And quite quickly, within your personal practice of meditation, you can trace that why back to a source. It might not be the root source, but it's a source that you can connect to as the reason why. And say, well, this is why. Put a circle around it. So to intellectually then understand why is to allow yourself to become grounded. Grounded into a piece of knowing. Well, this is why. But at that same moment, accepting the fact that we might not have the whole story available to us yet, consciously. So it's not the absolute why, it's the reason that you have access to. So we can relinquish a lot of the I don't knows. I mean, it's a mystery to me. This is an I don't know. How we can walk around as a human species saying, I don't know why this is happening to me, when you are really the only one who is experiencing it. It's a source found inside you. So if it's found inside of you, it's from you. That exudes outwards and into the world around you, which then comes back to you as another experience. So this training of the I don't know as being the status quo, that was a good one, is the devil that she was saying, that Ruth was saying. It's easier to know, how did you say it?
The devil you know.
The devil you know is less frightening than the devil you don't know. So the devil you know is the I don't know. Well, I don't know why. And then you can just perpetually go through, I don't know why life is doing this towards me now.
I think we all, if we sit down and analyze it, we all know exactly why
Yeah.
something is happening. That's just, I think it's just an excuse.
Yeah.
That's the thing, but that's the having the spaciousness that something like a commitment and a discipline like meditate creates in an individual, so they have that ability to face it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't have a practice or a discipline, it's like you're inundated with all this, maybe not being able to ground and see things clearly. And I think that's, that's, for me, that's what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Working with your mind in a way, when you talk to us about this, like making friends with yourself is step one, right? If you're not friends with your ego and kind of friends with yourself, and being curious and exploring can be really painful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that discourages, for whatever reason, culturally, pain is bad. We don't want to sit with our pain.
That's right. Yeah.
So we avoid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Discomfort. We don't want discomfort so much.
Yeah.
But discomfort is comfort. Is it warm in here?
Very.
I'm not sure what's going on.
Should we do the
Maybe it's on auto now, but put it into the cool.
I think what's critical is stopping.
Just wait before you continue. Yeah. So that everyone at home can hear you.
I think what's critical is stopping. Not enough people know how to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Things aren't going good, so they try to fix it. It's like, just stop.
Yeah.
Just stop until you know what you're going to do. Just stop till you understand what the situation is. It's the stopping, the sensation
Mhm.
or cessation.
Mm-hmm.
Let the clarity come. Let the situation resolve or reveal itself.
Yeah.
But we're just charging ahead. We're lost, so we just put on the gas and just get lost faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's sometimes people think of it as like an addiction, an emotional addiction of some sort. It's taking a sip of something that tastes really good and then you just drink it too fast. Or having a bite of something that you really like and then eating the whole thing too quickly. And it causes pain, it gives you a stomach ache. Or a brain freeze of some sort. So it's kind of like brain numbing activity, mind numbing.
You know why you got brain freeze.
Sometimes.
Well, if you're using that as an example.
Yeah. Yes, you're right.
If
Yeah.
If you've had all this stuff, but don't you think we get into our own stories as well?
Mhm.
And if that perpetuates into our experiences, our stories, and
Mhm.
they can be negative or positive.
Yeah.
We have to stop those as well.
Yeah.
It's like the relative why and absolute why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the why that you can understand, and then that deeper experience of the why that's coming over time.
Karma.
This is the karma, like your shirt. Yeah, good one. Yeah, this is the thing. This is the beauty of it all.
Seems though that through the practice and the tapas, we're actually stimulating the meaning and the why. But the understanding comes through sensation when we actually soften it and let it go. Because we stop identifying the mind as that thing that we're working with. And we stop trying to actually fix anything, but rather just connect to the actual mind, which is within the stillness.
Yeah, exactly. So seeing the reality of the circumstance and situation. The reality, and at the same time not avoiding it, but just staying in it long enough to get through to the other side. So those subtle sensations of discomfort are actually the cleaning agent, which is curing. It's the medicine that's fixing you. If you have the proper navigational tools, it's not stopping, and it's not staying in it, stopping, stagnant, being stuck. It's moving through it. Maybe very slowly, but moving through it. And if there's that continuous movement, that is always there, right? The mind is always moving. Dynamic stillness. It's even if it's completely pristine quality of space, there's still movement that's there. Everything is always moving. So if we just connect to the natural experience of that, the nature of that, and in a sense stop attaching ourselves with our mind strength to the fact that, or to the illusion that we're stuck, then nature does all the work. Naturally it happens. And it's simple decision making. That's it.
But there seems sometimes to be two kinds of movement. The one that is life, the one that is nature, and the other one that is part of your collective memory, physically or even mental. And then sometimes, how do you distinguish between both?
I believe that we can distinguish. Sometimes it does take some time, but that's the maturing mind of an individual. So let's say a person who practices meditation, that's one of the gifts, and that's one of the wonders that meditation brings, that you gain that ability to discern. And as you strengthen as the individual, then you become part of the positive collective. So you're no longer feeding the negative, you're actually on the other side, promoting that positive movement, which potentially will then one day become negative, which will then have to be worked out of to become then a new level of function, right? So one thing could be so positive and then all of a sudden turn no longer in a positive for you. So you just keep moving, and then you have to relinquish the attachments. Like those wonderful poses that we love so much, and then the pose is gone, but it was so good, why did it leave? So then we have to work ourselves through that small attachment into the next wonderful pose. that may or may not come to us. Good. This is good. And what else?
I keep thinking about the time in teacher training when we talked about the row your boat
Yes.
analogy,
Yeah.
which for me is really powerful, because I know I do that. I fight the flow of life.
Yeah.
And I'm sure for some reason my river is not going to the ocean and I need to go upstream.
Upstream.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what happens. And
Yeah.
so for me, personally, I keep that kind of in the front of my mind, and it helps me to go, oh, this discomfort that I'm feeling is actually part of a deeper, bigger rhythm
Mm-hmm.
that I can rest into.
Yeah.
Because it's taking me somewhere, and I'm uncomfortable, and I might be in pain, but I'm growing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because I'm kind of listening to that. What is this discomfort? Is it part of this rhythm of life that I'm trying to flow with?
Mm-hmm.
Or is this the discomfort that comes from me fighting the flow of life?
Uh-huh. Yeah, and
And
those are
for
great
me, that really
questions.
helps to distinguish.
Yes.
Yeah. And helps me to, if I don't know what the answer is, like you're saying, what the big picture is, like why this discomfort is happening, I know that I don't need to know right now. I just need to be with it.
Yeah. That's exactly it. That's great. So
Mhm.
these are great questions to ask. And they just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, because we can easily say, yes, I got it, I know it. But there's always somewhere deeper. That's why they call wise people wise. But the wisdom doesn't ever stop. It just keeps going and going. And really, none of us have enough gray hairs yet to call ourselves fully, ultimately wise, which is so wonderful. Because if there was a stopping point that was early, well, then it wouldn't necessarily, for me, be totally worth it. It's eternal, endless amounts of wisdom that can be connected to and developed. But then applied now, very easily applied to the circumstance that you have. Circumstance being positive or not. But that shift is a simple decision, and it must be made. And it's so easy. Once that decision is made, then everything clicks into place. For as long as it does, until it gets kind of held up again, and then you have to continue. Mm-hmm. But again, this is the miracle of any practice, but really the miracle of the practice of meditation is it's teaching us how to untie those knots which are holding us in the place very, very quickly. It just loosens them through the simple act of relaxation, your physical body. Loosens them through the simple act of your breathing in and out of your body. The simple softening of your mind. Because the mind is creating the illusion of holding, stopping the world. But once it softens, everything flows. The rhythm of your breath flows to the rhythm of life, which is stimulating everything which is occurring within your body. Your body is the grounding agent for your mind. So if your body is relaxed, your mind has that much more of an ability to relax, using the nervous system to communicate. So if the nervous system is working correctly, then everything should be flowing fine. You have the endocrine system. You have all of these systems within your body that you have an opportunity to access through simple techniques like meditation, like breathing, like moving your body. And the more conscious we become of that simple fact, then the more relevant your circumstance becomes relevant to who you are and why you're here. And that relevancy becomes the fuel that is necessary for you to get to that next place. So you are actually here for a reason. And that reason is simply the meaning of life. Da. Without you, there's no meaning. It lands to another completely different meaning. So your specific meaning in this life is unique. Imagine how many people on the planet with unique meanings to life. This is really an amazement thing. Amazing. And we all feel that our meaning is so incredibly important. So incredibly important and somehow connected to everyone else's meaning. Now that is also really special, pretty important. You are a body which is singular, separate from me, but you are attaching such importance to a meaning that is shared. Well, how is it shared? What are the commonalities that make up an experience that is shared? And when we start to develop those simple touch points, well, then we can then draw meaning, but also present meaning into lives around us, not only our own, but lives around us just simply through our actions, simple actions. And as we apply these simple actions, which then create meaning within another's life, then what comes back to us is that equal amount. Generally, right? But if we start to go sideways or alter that experience of meaning, well, then we're met with that same. So really, the only one that you must be responsible for is yourself. And I know we all know this. But again, the depth to what that is huge. So your level of understanding of what that responsibility may be, and then the depth that you must start to move into is two different things. And some of that responsibility is challenging yourself to become that much more skilled at understanding who you are so that what is being expressed out can be met and received well. But at the same time, it's understanding when the time together is over, is finished. Time to move on into the next relationship, into the next arena of experience. Because that also happens, right? I'm not talking about another person. It could be a place or a thing or an idea. It's either found internally or externally. But if we're exercising both, then we become artists of life. So the research to this art piece is found within meditation as one of our tools. The concept of soul searching. My dad likes to say that, use that one. My dad is really wonderful. All parents are really wonderful. They give such great advice. And he gave me a wonderful piece of advice. He was saying, when you are thinking about something, when you have to find an answer, just soul search. Everybody knows this, right? But sometimes you hear things with new ears. So I translated that for myself. Every thought process I have, down to what shoes should I wear? Oh, do these pants look good today? From that level of the soul, the depth of the soul. Search the soul for the answer. How could you ever go wrong? This is soul alignment. Interesting to me. So the depth that we start to move from means a lot. And nobody has to know that you ask your questions from the depth of your soul. Nobody has to know that. Might sound funny if you're at the restaurant and you're just asking your soul, which dessert should I have? But why wouldn't you include your soul in that conversation? I mean, is your soul not the absolute part of who you are in this body? So of course it should have a voice as to chocolate or vanilla. One may argue that it's only the soul that is doing all the speaking, so why even ask if that's all that you are? That's where the conversation really gets started. I don't think the air conditioning is working.
Can you just do it like down a few degrees? Yeah, just do it all the way down. Let's just take it right now.
So as much as we are developing our way through our challenges, we're also connecting to the incredible heights that exist. So the heights of mental process, the heights of mental experience, sensory experience, clarity, and it keeps going. As much as wisdom is there, there's that height of bliss is also there. There's no stopping it. You can just keep going and going and going and going and going. So just like your thoughts must be focused, your mind must be trained in order to maintain that clarity and calmness. Likewise, you have to do the same thing in order to connect to those heights of blissful experience, euphoria. So truly, you can get more high by taking an inhale through your 2 nostrils than doing anything else on the planet. I can guarantee you of that. I'm not saying do or don't do. I'm just saying that your apparatus of stimulation is actually right here, your nostrils. And your ability to receive that experience. Your ability to see what exists not with your eyes, but through all of your senses, what exists within the space that you're breathing in, and how that stimulates your sensory experience. So it becomes then what goes into your body, how it goes into your body, when it goes into your body, how much goes into your body at any given time, on all levels, from the emotional level, mental level, physical level, so that we are treating our human vessel like an instrument that is quite sensitive, sophisticated piece of equipment. And that usually happens once we've finished testing how resilient the thing is. How much can we throw at it? It goes through a rigorous testing process of what can we do to the body? What's its tolerance? But once we get through that and we start to actually refine, become finer and finer and finer, the experience becomes finer and finer and finer. And I'm talking mental. Because what we feel within the body, the mind is also perceiving it as well. What the mind perceives, we feel within the body. So if I ask you to feel the finest quality of space around you, so within this room, what is the finest quality of space? And we want to be able to feel it with our senses. So now what happens to the eyes? What happens to the nasal passage? Does it shift slightly as you search for that finer quality? How about your posture? Do you become a little bit more still? And if we were to keep going with that into finer and finer and finer qualities over an extended period of time, what begins to manifest as an overall mental process. Because remember, we're looking at the finity. So if you look at a piece of cloth and you're looking at the finer and finer detail of that cloth, you're looking at individual strings or threads of that fiber cloth, which means you are looking at individual threads of experience of your mind, of your senses. So each one of those senses. So what you see, finer and finer. What you smell, finer and finer. So that refinement is actually creating discernment and clarity. So in that very, very simple practice that you can do all day long, you are actually moving through an incredible amount. And if we can maintain that as an ongoing practice, well, then it becomes very, very easy. Life actually becomes very, very easy because you're seeing it clearly. So then if you plug in trust along with the plug-in of understanding, then we are fully up and running. And it all loops back to the practice of meditation, which is teaching you how. Any final comments or questions? Okay, let's close the eyes. Sitting comfortably. Allowing your attention to go into the body and finding the comfort and relaxation that exists there. And allow that comfort and relaxation to be the anchor, the weight that is necessary to ground your mind into the relaxation, which is then stimulating the calm, harmonious experience. Take on the practice of connecting to the finer and finer qualities of your experience. Keeping the eyes closed, bring full deep breaths into the body. Bring your gaze into the space just there in front of you, meaning the moment that you understand that you are gazing into a space, just beyond that gaze is where you place your attention. What do you see there? And what you see, can you feel with all of your senses being absorbed by that vibration of space? This is pratyahara. All senses are absorbed within a single expression of sensation. Keeping the eyes closed, soften the gaze. And very slowly, very gently, allow the eyes to open. Throughout the month, having one meditation for sure, which is a long sit, maybe even two. But then many times throughout the day, 2-minute sits, 3-minute sits, 5-minute sits. Whenever you have moments in time when it's quiet, sit, close the eyes. Take deep breaths and connect yourself to that solid expression of your seat. And that same solid expression can be found when you're standing, when you're walking, when you're talking. It's just a matter of training all of your system to connect to that in any given moment. And this month is our opportunity to consciously do that. So that then 24 hours, 7 days a week, you are within your meditation practice. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste.